Welcome, fitness friends. How many push-ups a man can do can be a big indicator of their heart disease risk. A recent study came out looking at firefighters over a 10-year period. And what the study determined is that men, firefighters, who can do 40 or more push-ups compared to men who can do 10 or less push-ups had a 96% reduced risk for heart disease, which is really incredible. And the researchers even said that push-ups, how many push-ups you can do, can be a better indicator of your cardiovascular, your heart disease risk compared to stress test, which is really amazing. But then when you look deeper into the study, it also said that men who can do 11 push-ups or more had a 64% reduction of the chances of having heart disease. So it's really important to be able to do 11 or more push-ups. But in my opinion, most men should be able to do 25 push-ups, off the floor in good form. So in this video, let's go over a 30-day program that will have you doing 25 push-ups at the end of 30 days. It's interesting. When men come to my gym, one of the first things I do with them when I'm assessing them is to see how many push-ups they can do. And so many men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s can't even do 10 push-ups. So my goal for them is to have them do 25 push-ups within 30 days. So we're going to map out a whole program in this video. Plus, I'm going to give you some demonstration videos showing you how to progress to doing 25 push-ups off the floor. Initially, you might be doing them off the table or off your knees, but at the end of 30 days, you will be doing 25 push-ups. Let's go over the program. Now, I'm also going to assume that you cannot do 10 push-ups. But the first thing I'd like you to do is just to create a baseline. Like get on the floor and just see how many push-ups can you do in good form. If you can only do 3 or 4, don't worry about it. At the end of 30 days, you will be doing 25 push-ups. So what we're going to do is we're going to progress you. We'll start off really easy. We're going to start doing push-ups off a table. Then we're going to start doing push-ups on the floor, but off your knees. And then the last weeks 3 and 4, you'll be doing your push-ups, off your toes, like a more traditional type push-up. But don't worry, you'll be ready for them. But the first thing I want to do, let's go over like the form and the technique of doing a push-up off a table, doing a push-up off your knees, and then doing a push-up off the floor. Let's go over the proper technique for doing a push-up off a table. Okay, the first thing, you can't see my feet, but I'm actually on the balls of my feet. So when I'm going forward, my heels are lifting off the ground. My knees are just slightly bent, right? My midsection, my stomach, my abdomen is a little bit contracted. So I'm actually bracing my stomach to stabilize my whole core, right? I'm keeping my chin slightly tucked in. I'm not sticking my head out, okay? And the main thing is, if you notice, I'm not flaring out my elbows. If I would flare up my elbows all the way to the side, that would put a lot of stress on the front part of my shoulder, my anterior deltoid, which is actually smaller and weaker than my pectorals, than my big chest muscle. So by keeping the elbow slightly in, it's going to put you in a stronger position, plus a better position to strengthen your chest, okay? And if you also notice, I'm moving relatively slow, like my rep cadence is relatively slow. I'm lowering myself for maybe 2 seconds, and then I'm rising back up 2 seconds. So I'm doing a relatively slow rep cadence. And this is a technique we're going to be using for the first week of the push-up program. Okay, now we're ready for day 1. So the first thing I want you to do is to simply do 10 of those table push-ups that we just went over. I'm going to do that day 1 and day 2, just 10 repetitions, nice and slow. Day 3 and day 4, we're going to increase it. We're going to do 15 push-ups off the table. Day 5 and day 6, we're going to do 20 push-ups off the table. And this shouldn't take you very long, right? We're only doing 1 set, right? And day 7, we're going to do as many repetitions as possible in good form with that slow rep cadence for day 7. Let's go over the technique of doing a push-up off your knees on the floor. See, I personally like to do my push-ups off my fists, off my knuckles. I've been doing it that way as a kid. I always loved it. Maybe if I'm watching like Bruce Lee movies or something like that. But you don't have to do it that way. You can do them actually off the palms of your hands. Doesn't make a difference. I also like to put a pillow underneath my knees, because I want my patella, my kneecaps, like on the hard ground. But the technique is very similar to doing a push-up off the table, right? My hands are like wider than shoulder width apart. Once again, I'm not flaring out my elbows. I'm keeping them tucked in a little bit, lining my pectoral muscles. I'm keeping my midsection, my core, a little contracted, braced. If you see, I'm keeping my back flat. And the biggest mistake I see people make when they do push-ups off the knees or even off the floor is that they lead with their head. You want to pivot off your knees. So if you look at my hips, see the hip hinge in my hips is not changing. What's actually happening is my head is going forward as I do the push-up, and I'm pivoting off my knees. This, in my opinion, is the best way to do a push-up off your knees. Plus, we're using that same slow rep cadence. Okay, let's go over week 2 doing push-ups off your knees. And once again, we're going to use that slow rep cadence, about a 4 or 5 second repetition. So day 8, day 9, 10 push-ups off your knees. Day 10, day 11, 15 push-ups off your knees. Day 12, day 13, 20 push-ups off your knees. And on the 14th day, 2 weeks, just do as many push-ups as you can off your knees in good form. Now let's go over the technique for doing a push-up off the floor. And once again, very similar doing it off a table or doing it off your knees, but now your body is even heavier because you're pivoting off your toes. So once again, you're on the balls of your feet, right? And now the key to this is keeping your whole body braced and somewhat tight. Like my abs, my stomach's tight. Now you're involving a lot more of your hip flexors. So a push-up, you're really working every single muscle within your body. It's one of my favorite exercises. And once again, your hands are wider than shoulder width apart. I'm not flaring my elbows out and keeping them somewhat tucked in. I'm keeping my chin somewhat pulled back, and we're just going up and down nice and slow. And if you also notice, we're not going too deep. Your chest does not have to touch the floor. In fact, if it does touch the floor, in my opinion, you might be going too deep, because what happens is, once again, you're going to put too much pressure on your shoulders. I would say if your elbows can go to 90 degrees or slightly below that, that's deep enough for a push-up. Let's go over the last 2 weeks when you're doing push-ups off the floor. Okay, day 15, 16, and 17, you're going to do 10 push-ups off the floor, right? Day 18, 19, and 20, you're going to do 12 push-ups. Day 21, 22, 23, 15 push-ups. Day 24, 25, 26, 18 push-ups. Day 27, 28, 29, 21 push-ups off the floor. And now you're ready. On day 30, you're going to do 25 push-ups off the floor, or just do as many as you can. I've had people literally, I've had like 50-year-old guys come to me, you can do like 7 or 8 push-ups. And after 30 days, they do like 30, 35 push-ups. Really incredible. Now, it's also totally okay if you want to go through this process a little slower. Like, for example, take 60 days to do 25 push-ups. How I would do that is that do your push-ups every other day instead of doing them every day, but follow the same program. And also just keep in mind, if anything starts giving you trouble, like if your shoulders start bothering you, if your back starts hurting, just slow down the whole thing. It's totally okay to spend more time, say 2 weeks doing table push-ups, or maybe 2 weeks doing push-ups off your knees. The whole key is to be consistent. Say to yourself, I want to be able to do 25 push-ups one day. And if you work at it, you'll get there. Now, if you want to learn more about getting in just amazing shape, check out this playlist of videos.